Way Heights Correction Center. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up. Thank you.
Good morning, good morning.
Hello, Mr. Hoffman. I did find an article on Jamie Bindle, and I mailed that to you, but
yes.
that's a tragic situation. Wow, I did not realize about that. Yeah.
Yes, it was. It affected me greatly because she was a very, very decent person. She was probably the best example of a good professional prison guard that you could ever ask for.
Why was she targeted?
And she asked for help and never got it.
Do you think she was specifically targeted, or do you think she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time?
No, she was specifically targeted because the man had worked there as an office assistant there, and either they had some type of disagreement or something like that, but he was focusing in on her. I can see that with his actions in looking back on the situation and stuff. He was there working in that office before Bindle came to work. Bindle was coaxed into going to work for there because she didn't have a job and stuff, and these two prison guards that were her friends and stuff tried to get her lined up so that she had a good position, and they got her in as the officer that watched the chapel. It's supposed to be one of those positions where you don't have to be looking for that type of problem happening all the time. There's things in the yard and things at other instances, like at the gym or something like that, where altercations can come into play because of the tenseness of incarcerated people wanting to be winners.
Yeah.
There's a deep need instilled in prison people, prison inmates and stuff, because of that, because of losing at the court and things like that. They have a deep buried desire to be winners, and a lot of people let that get in the way of everything else. Even in simple friendly card play, there'll be things like that pop up, because that's the deep underlying thing of it all, is that they have this terrible need to be a winner, and winning doesn't matter how it's done as long as they become a winner. So
yeah,
and that's part of what went down with this sheriff that night and stuff. He had decided that he was going to take advantage of Bindle since there was nobody else there, and proceeded to do so. But Bindle was just tough enough a lady that he couldn't do what he desired to do until he killed her. And after he killed her, it was off then. It destroyed his psychological venue of what he had in store for her. And
did they kill him? Do you know? Did they give him the death penalty? Is he dead now? Oh, he's still.
No, this occurred after Mr. What's his name? The Green River Strangler, Green River Killer, was brought into custody and stuff, and he got off of his death sentence by doling out, well, there's bodies over here and there's bodies over there and this and that, until the ones that were running the case promised him that he wouldn't be killed if he give up all the locations of all the bodies that he had killed. And I don't yet to this day believe that he gave them all. I think there's still some that he is holding back just on that sudden chance that they might decide, well, it's time for you to go. And say, but I've got these over here that you don't know about yet. I'm sure that that's what's in the back of his mind, because he's that kind of an individual. Gary Ridgway.
I see. But I did find articles where Mr. Scherf was sentenced to death, but you're saying they just have not executed him yet?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
I believe that was a previous one, and he got to life with that.
I see. I'll try to do some more research, but I did mail you an article. It's very tragic, very, very tragic. But
yes.
Yeah.
On another note, I wanted to touch base with you and be sure that I had told you about my sacred items being taken from me and not returned, and that my sacred items for me are protected under the Native American Religious Freedoms Act. Now, these items that I'm talking about was the choker that my brother showed to me in the vision when he died, and I started receiving these pieces after his death and stuff with my previous wife, Penny Hoffman. She had different individuals from the reservation come to her with different things like a black bear claw, actually a pair of them from a game warden named Doodles that worked on the tribal, worked as a tribal game warden. He brought them to her and said, "Here, your husband needs these." So I fixed one for her and one for me. Along the way, in here, I received an elk's tooth, the ivory elk's tooth that elk have. And in the process, a friend of mine says, "What's that?" And I showed him, and he says, I've got walrus tusk. I can make another one just like that for your choker." And so he did, and I've got one elk's tooth and one walrus ivory tooth that looks like an elk's tooth that he copied and made that way. And then another brother came and lived in the cell with me for 3.5 years. And during that process, he told me of a time when he was out on the streets and stuff in Southern California in the Mojave Desert, and had been bitten by a rattlesnake. He was working with a man doing gold prospecting out there, and the man, while Scotty Britton had been bitten and taken to the hospital, the man found the 2 snakes. There was not just one, there was 2, a male and a female. And he killed them and he skinned them out. And when Scotty got well enough to go back to see him and stuff, the man gave him the snake tails and the snake skins that were the snakes that bit him. Scotty tried to wear them, fashion them into things, and it bothered him, and so he turned around and went into his medicine items box one day in our cell and gave what he had left to me, which was a pretty good sized chunk of skin at the tail section of the bigger snake that had bit him, and a smaller section of a much older snake, but it was smaller. So it was male and female, and the snake skin itself in the last diamond portion had the letter H, which is my last name initial. So I fashioned it so that the bear claw and the snake tails came out of the bear claw, and the bear claw fit over the letter H. in the deal and did the beadwork around it and stuff. And this is what is in there now, and that's why it's so sacred to me.
What have they done, Mr. Hoffman? They've taken your items away and they won't give them back?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, and it's...
What's the reasons? I mean,
Look at,
did they give you a reason?
They try to claim that the rules change and stuff, and this and that and stuff, and we might take the bear claw loose from there and use it on one of their officers. Well, if their officers are doing right and not causing any problems, why would we have any determination to do that? And I've had this stuff for over 30 years. Why, if that were true, why haven't I done so before now? And why would it be now in my old age, and after having that sacred item all of these years, why would I do something to defile that now? It's impossible. If they don't have a justification for it, their only reasoning for it is to take it away. That's all that they do in this system. Is they have a bunch of kleptomaniacs that have some idea that they've always got to take something away from the prisoners to inflict more punishment. They think that that's their duty, and that's their stand-up way of doing things, is to try to inflict more pain. They've gotten to this point to where there's an infraction for everything, whether it's right or wrong. So you cannot win with them. It's just like the other day when I got called out for this to pick up my sacred items, to go through it with stuff. I missed it because the chaplain had set it for a Sunday. We have never, ever, in all the years that I've been down, been called out to receive our sacred items box on a Sunday. In conjunction with that, the gal that was over in property that does the religious items, I asked her about this because they had another box that I had taught beadwork with at Walla Walla. She said that either I had to take that box or the other box. If I took this box, I couldn't have my sacred items. So I told her, you take and hold this, and I will set it up so that Agnes can pick it up when she comes to visit. She told me that, this gal told me that when it came time, she would call me out there. They only work from Monday to Friday, so I didn't expect to be called out on a Sunday to pick up my sacred items. It's just not done anywhere else. I missed the call out, and they infracted me, and I had to go to a hearing on it. And even though they gave me 5 days cell confinement, that was to be held off for 90 days because I hadn't had any other infractions or anything, yada, 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 yada. It's a way to make us feel like prisoners because we're guilty of something. We're always guilty of something. And they don't have the right to put us through a penalty phase situation where we might receive some kind of penalty without the proper assistance of counsel. They run a kangaroo court, and whatever they determine, they're the judge and they're the jury, and they're the ones that are taking stock of everything. And if you try to argue your case, then you get a more strict penalty because you're arguing with the hearings officer. That's how this has worked all these years. I've been through 32 infractions, some that have taken me to the hole, and there's only been one, and that was at Walla Walla, where they tried to have me infracted for having an unauthorized tool that would have gotten me a major infraction. I had a pair of tweezers that I had used in my curio from the time that I first got the curio at Walla Walla until 30 31 years later, I come back and have that, and was infracted by an officer that wasn't as old as the tweezers were. And so they threw the case out, threw the thing out. That's the only one that I've ever had that went to that determination. All the rest of them I've been guilty of, simply because I'm an Indian and I'm a prisoner. And they don't like it when somebody like me has the ability to talk better than they do.
My goodness, I can't begin to imagine the hardships and tribulations you've been through in 32 years. It's just such a long time. I'm grateful that you've maintained your sanity.
This thing involves my Native American choker that my brother showed me in a vision. And why would I take something that I hold sacred, that my brother gave me through a spiritual encounter, and turn it into something that's vile? And all the pieces after he showed me in my vision, dream vision, why would they come to me piece by piece until I had the full thing to be able to put this choker together exactly the way I seen it in the vision? It has small elephant bone beads that come from India. A person came to me and says, here, and handed me 4 packages of inch-long 3-millimeter bone beads and 1.5-inch long 3-millimeter bone beads. And I put them together with hematite and turquoise stone beads on the necklace. So this choker then has a bear claw that's been beaded around the bear claw so that there's turquoise and a gold rim around it, and the claw comes out of that. There's a little bit of bear hair that stands out of that, and it sits on a wheel, a medallion piece that's about 2.5-3 inches around, and that is beaded around in such a way that the skin is held to a leather piece on the back, and it cups a little bit so that the bear claw hangs in an appropriate fashion. And the rattlesnake skins are on braided leather that hang on either side of the bear claw. What it looks like is a blue macaw beak. So
when did they take it away when you moved to the new Airway Heights prison? You used to have it.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
And they're saying that I cannot have it because their rules have changed and that they're not allowing it. And they took away my ceremonial breastplate that I had made, and they take away the moccasins that I had made, and they've taken away all of the handkerchief wraps that I have over these sacred items. And because they're paisley print, they're saying that they have to be taken because there's some kind of gang paraphernalia, and they can't allow that because of that. Never mind that all of these handkerchiefs were given to me by staff back when I first became pipe carrier at Walla Walla in 1987.
Can I ask why did they transfer you from Walla Walla to Airway Heights? What initiated that?
I requested to go back to Monroe, saying to the
You have 60 seconds remaining.
to the hearing group there that I had the least problems there, and if they wanted me to continue down that path, please send me back there. Because I started new programs and had no infractions for 8.5 years there. Instead, this is where they send me, where you can't even look like you're going to spit, or you get an infraction.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Anyway, if you talk to the superintendent and stuff here, please inform that those sacred items are guarded and protected by the Native American Religious Freedoms Act of 1986.
All right, I'll.
And it's not only for me, but it's for all Native Americans, whether you're Indian or what. People don't.
All right, that's Patrick Hoffman. He's been in prison 32 years. They're withholding proper running water in his cell, and it looks like they've taken some sacred items from him.
Oh, you will not be charged for this call. This call is from
Pat Hoffman.
an inmate at Airway Heights Correction Center. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up. Thank you.
Yes, sorry for taking so long.
That's no problem. I'll try to make a phone call to the. I'll try to make a phone call to the prison later today and share some concerns about your treatment.
I received from a friend today, yesterday evening actually, some legal avenues in the United States government through the Justice Department and such about Native Americans and incarcerated individuals and discrimination and things like that. And Agnes is going to put together not only what you've helped us with on the website and stuff, that's going to be included in there, but the thing the paperwork to the Ninth Circuit Court in San Francisco, the PRP, concerning a full review of my case and the things that's going on with the Department of Corrections. Now, I alleged in there that either knowingly or unknowingly, the Department of Corrections and the state of Washington and the tribal council of that year that I was incarcerated entered into an agreement to use my dad and I, along with other individuals in the state, as subjects in a human trafficking situation where they were able to put us in prison and make money off of us. So they have to take a look at this in a whole different light of reasoning. And now I got these addresses and stuff to be able to send all of this and tie these people into working on this in such a way that they have to look at each other and see which one of their offices is going to be the one to free an innocent Native American. There's an old adage that says when you have so many enemies, what you do is make your enemies work for you. So this is what this plan entails, and it's not anything illegal. It's just that all of a sudden they're in a political front where they have to decide and determine whether or not they're going to try to keep this under wraps or not. And if you get enough offices in the viewfinder, sooner or later somebody's going to raise their hand and say, I'll do it because these other ones don't, and stuff and things like that. So we have to work on it that way. This thing that they've done has been concerted effort all the way through, from the time that I compiled a brief to be able to get me moved from Walla Walla that ended up at Monroe in the first place. They didn't like that they had to agree to allow me to stay there at Monroe as long as I didn't get into trouble or cause any trouble. So for 8.5 years, they had to put up with that. And then Bendel's death came along, and the federal stepped in, and all of a sudden, all of the lifers had to be disseminated to all other institutions and stuff, and not allowed at WSR at Monroe anymore. But yet,
what is WSR? What's that? What's WSR?
Washington State Reformatory.
Okay.
WSR used to be for children, for teenagers and stuff. It wasn't a regular prison. The real prison at the time was McNeil Island in Seattle. When the feds came back and took over McNeil Island again, all the prisoners that were there had to be moved somewhere, so they changed Washington State Reformatory to a receiving prison and moved all the youngsters to a different location, which was at Clallam Bay. Clallam Bay was supposedly only supposed to hold minors and small felony individuals. They weren't supposed to hold any life without. Immediately after they got going, the DOC reneged on that deal and had all the lifers moved to there. So I spent some time there too.
How many times have you been moved in 32 years? Have you lost track?
No. I got my first move out of Walla Walla in 17.5 years after there. My dad passed away while I was in the hole, and I got moved through to Shelton, did like 2 or 3 weeks in Shelton IMU, and then got moved to Stafford Creek IMU for 6 months, and from there got moved to Clallam Bay, and did a whole year there, and they put one of their hit personnel in there that was native, that would do dirt for them, and the man threatened me, and I'm not one to be threatened in those situations, so I had to take matters into my own hands, and we fought in the cell for 20 minutes on Groundhog's Day, 2001. And I had to, no, it was 2002. Went to the hole over that, and they come to me and says, well, the one you were celled up with said that you started the fight. And I told him, well, maybe you should go back and ask your rat about the whole sequence of things, because I have nothing to say to you. And I did the full 6 months there, while my attorneys and my wife were battling with them, trying to get me freed from there. It finally came in the process that there was a request that I had sent to the unit sergeant in Clallam Bay, Unit D, that I was requesting either a move for me or a move for my cellie, because we were having difficulties in getting along, and we were trying to avoid that, so please move us. The guy came back to me in the hole unanswered, so I put it in the mailbox and sent it to my attorney. My attorney brought it forth to them and asked them, why was this not looked upon? This man tried to avert this situation, and you refused to do that. It wasn't 2 weeks down the road, and I got my go to Monroe. And the lawsuit that I had against them, they paid out $11,000 and made that they were supposed to give me proper dental care for the time in between. Well, their dental care included cutting deep grooves in all my teeth at the gum line, so that all my teeth are sensitive. And I have a continuing process from that. While I was at Monroe, I got shingles. So with that nerve process there, I also have a fire going on my right back and chest, all the way to my waistline, and all the way to my elbow on my right arm, that never goes away. I'm on fire all the time. Those nerves are doing that, and it's progressed to the point to where it's, when I'm talking or when I'm upset, my face gets the same burn all the way to the jawbone and all the way to the top of where my sinuses are, where the roots of my molars reach near the surface of my sinus cavities there on the right side. I've been experiencing this for years, at least 12 years now, all the way through Coyote Ridge, all the way through Walla Walla, and all the way to now. When I talk with my wife over certain things and I get worked up and irritated and stuff, I have like somebody just stabbed me with a broad blade in my jaw flexor, where the jaw joint comes together with my skull, and it hurts real good. It hurts real. So those are things that I have to put up with constantly, and that's not good enough. I've seen others go through this, and immediately when they get to where they can't stand the pain anymore, they go to pill line, and when they get on pill line, they're walking zombies. I don't want that. I won't put up with it, so I put up with the pain. I have pain on a daily basis that's off the scale.
Well, Mr. Hoffman, I know that my strength and my courage and my comfort and peace and joy come from the King James Bible. I pray that you find healing in those scriptures and the Word of God. I believe that all the problems that we face in this world, the answers are in the Word of God, and I pray that for you as well. It's absolutely terrible what's happened to you.
Well, being able to talk with you and having whatever assistance that you could provide is a great help. You don't know how much it helps. And there may be somewhere down the line where you may have to give me an affidavit in support of the things that I'm requesting for my freedom. But if you can, fine. If you can't, God bless you anyway.
Well, our prayers are with you, and I don't mind signing an affidavit to anything that's truthful, and I just want the situation to come, we try to make noise and shine light about, injustices, and 32 years, your own father has died in prison. I know there was another gentleman that died, but it sounds like there was, a lot of questions about that case, and you have laid out various proofs that I hope people look at. I hope people in government look at, and I hope the governor looks at it. Who is the governor? Who is the governor of the state that you need to look at it?
Governor Jay Inslee.
Got it. Okay. All right. Very good. I'll keep that in mind.
Along this same line, Agnes will be calling you in the next little while, and I want her to hook up with you and put that statement that she gave to the young man on Messenger. I want to have that attached below his statement that he put on your Facebook page there after what you put on for me in response to that, so that there becomes an understanding that this youngster isn't able to accept the truth as it now stands. And even Agnes went so far as to tell him in this message that she sent back to him that it's at a point now where even if God were to come down to you and tell you that he were God and tell you that Mr. Hoffman is innocent, you would refuse to believe him because you are so ingrained in your hate that you fail to see the truth of anything that is given to you. So you're in our prayers, and you need to reach out and try to find the truth, because why would you have such hate and despondence if there weren't something working in your mind trying to figure out why things happened to your father? Maybe you should look at it this way. Maybe your father is touching you on the shoulder from the other side and telling you, this man that's in prison didn't kill me. Somebody else did.
Yeah. Very well. All right, Mr. Hoffman. Well, our prayers are certainly with your situation, and I will try to make a phone call later today. If Agnes calls me, if Agnes calls me, I may not be home because I've got to step out for a while, but I will try to receive her call once I get home. God bless you, Mr. Hoffman, and we pray you have a good day.
Yes. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you very much.
No problem.
Care. I hope to meet you.
Yes, I hope so too, Mr. Hoffman.
I hope to meet you in person someday.
Amen. I'm looking forward to the day you walk out of there. I really am.
All right.
God bless you, Mr. Hoffman. We love you, and we love you in the Lord, and I know the Lord's got a plan for your life.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. God bless. Bye-bye.